So the good thing, I now control our stream with an iPad instead of a Chromebook, which is good because the Chromebook was very, very slow. Get that bad boy off there.
This is the part where you share the stream in places, and
I just scrolled. Did you see the butt plug meme?
I did not.
It's comparing a butt plug to the Imperial Cruiser.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's like I'm getting ready to get our stream going, and like a butt plug just like scrolls past. That belongs.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can't put sex toys live on web stream, where can you put them?
Yeah, it's funny is how many people get kind of bent out of shape about stuff like that. It's like there's nothing inherently wrong about sex toys.
Yeah. It's like, does seeing this butt plug really negatively impact your life that much?
It doesn't negatively impact I don't actually own any butt plugs. I don't think John does either.
Neither do I.
And he likes to put stuff in his butt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would assume you didn't. Though, I don't know. I've met a lot of... This has nothing to do with Star Wars. I've met a lot of straight guys that like are into that. I mean, they don't want a guy to put stuff in there.
Yeah. The prostate knows no orientation.
Yeah. Okay, I think we're ready to go.
All right. Let's ride.
Yeah, that was kind of nice. Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we are the hosts of the Jedi Enclave Presents. Now, this is Podcasting Podcast, our weekly live show about things relating to Star Wars news, Star Wars video games, Star Wars comics, Star Wars shows.
Holy shit! There's a new Star Wars show.
There is. We're gonna be talking about
fuck
that.
about that. Yeah. And very occasionally, and only when we're good and eat all our vegetables, some things that aren't Star Wars at all.
Like in like what 12 or 13 days, we will be talking about House of the Dragon when it comes out. Also, The Boys, which I can't remember exactly which one, like when that one comes out.
Soon.
Yeah, it's this month, but yeah. But yeah, anyway, welcome. And as Chris mentioned, we are kind of switching modes now, since there is every time there's a new Star Wars show, we kind of like that becomes the focus, you know. Mm-hmm. So today we're doing the Star Wars: The Acolyte after show.
Also a pittance of news.
Spoiler review. Yeah, I think we're gonna do news at
just lightning around that shit.
Yeah, I you know, we can do it. We can do it at the top. I just don't want to spend too much time on it. This, of course, every week is a podcast on our YouTube channel in the podcast tab. So if you're here watching the official release of the podcast when it comes out on Saturday,
first of all, how's the future?
Hopefully it's not getting worse.
Hopefully the Earth hasn't blown up yet.
Yeah, not for another 100 years, probably.
We can hope.
Yeah.
Anyway, second of all,
no, I really do think we don't have much time left. Humans in
right.
general. But you can check out discussion topics in the time codes in the description, which you should check out. And then a thank you to our friend Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. And if you could give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook Live. We're on Discord, which at 7 tonight we will be doing a watch party of Acolyte episode 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. So you can come check us out there. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna so usually we've been doing our buzzed recaps. Mm-hmm. So we're gonna blend the two a little bit, where we're gonna take the buzzed part and make that a part of the watch along. So we'll make a couple drinks and then watch those 2 episodes again. So you're more than welcome to join us on Discord. The link to that is also in the description. And I think Sunday at around 7:25 p.m. we'll have our weekly Gungans and Dragons, which is our Star Wars tabletop RPG, which is pretty cool. So let's start with some sad news.
Okay.
Maria de Aragon.
De Aragon, yeah.
Yep. Who is famously known to us anyway for being the physical actor that played Greedo in the original 1977 Star Wars film. has passed away at the age of 81, which, to be honest, and of natural causes.
Pretty good run.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Like, I hope I get to 81.
Yeah.
And then I'll just be like, you know what? I guess I'll die now. I've seen everything.
Yeah.
Also, she strikes me as the kind of woman, because I was thinking, I was like, I hope this woman didn't go to her death with the whole McClunky thing hanging over her head. Right?
I assume she had absolutely nothing to do with that.
I would bet she doesn't know anything about it. Because doing some reading.
That would be for the best, honestly.
Yeah, I bet she saw Star Wars in 1977 during the red carpet premiere.
Thought, oh, hey, there I am.
And then never watched another Star Wars movie again.
I wouldn't blame her.
Just didn't care. So, yeah, her management company announced on Instagram. And it's one of those historic parts of Star Wars. Like, that's the original fucking movie. She was like, her character was a part of the whole debate about who shot first and all this other stuff. And I just think it's kind of neat that, you know, she had such an original impact. Like, she's just like one of the OG like random characters, you know. So
I guess two little thoughts I have. First, she also had an entire career outside of Star
Wars.
Wars.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Tons of other movies. Number two, this is something that we have had to deal with for a while and will continue to have to deal with, as the actors who are in that movie are gonna keep getting older and dying.
They're aging a bit.
But
Star Wars Hunters has launched, which is available on Nintendo Switch.
Oh yeah, it's the mobile Overwatch thing.
I have not played it. I don't think I plan to.
Yeah.
I have a thing about mobile games that have microtransactions and stuff in them. I think they're pretty gross, and
try not to go too long on this soapbox.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It
I will get a hook ready.
I haven't seen anything in it generally that has made me even excited to check it out so much.
It looks like every other team-based hero shooter.
Yeah. So, and if you're into it, let us know in the comments.
Yeah. I'm
sure, if it's good.
Like, it's out there. It's great for somebody, and if that's your cup of tea, then more power to you.
Yeah. And let us know in the comments. Like, if you play it and it's good. Like, if I see a bunch of people be like, oh no, it's fucking amazing, you should check it out. I mean, it's free to play.
Yeah, I'll give it a fair shot.
Yeah. I mean, I won't pay a single fucking dime to get anything in that game.
Which is honestly the healthiest attitude to take towards mobile gaming.
Okay. So, okay.
This was a good one.
So sometimes I don't even want to get into shit like this because I know when we post it on YouTube, like the next,
gonna be somebody screaming about lesbian witches having force babies in the comments.
Okay, can we explain that real quick?
Yes, please.
So we every week, particularly when there's a new Star Wars show, the day of our podcast, of our live podcast, we will solicit responses and opinions. Oh no, that's not what that was.
No, that was on the Mike Zero Live of the week.
Yeah, right. So every once in a while we'll do a Mike Zero Live of the week, and ours, our latest one went up last night, right? And someone in the comments, you have it on Discord, right? Because I put it.
I believe so.
You want to read it out loud? Like, this is worth spending time on because
I have to get my phone off airplane mode for a second because I do that so that it doesn't fuck with that. Let me just get over there. It's gonna be an interesting editing challenge for you.
No, it won't. I'm leaving it in. Fuck it.
Okay, let me just
read it verbatim, please.
All right. Lesbians with an S, witches making force babies being an actual thing, and Mike Zero is what we are talking about. I've heard some of his videos, and for the past week he's been talking about the launch of the Acolyte. I'm not denying he said it, but it doesn't make sense that he would have said it was canceled. Nor should it make sense that you made an entire show about it. With everything going on, this is what you choose to care about?
You want to read my response?
Lesbian witches making force babies sounds metal as fuck. Also, we'll be the arbiter of what is discussed here, not you.
Right. I think it was interesting that he said something about making a whole show about it, which is funny because that was like 4 or 5 minutes out of a 60-minute show.
Yeah.
And we didn't. So that's the shit we're dealing with, is the point we're making, right? So, like, that's your context for this next story. Kathleen Kennedy talked to the New York Times.
Oh, God.
Okay. And they discussed online harassment of women in Star Wars and like the undeniable male-dominated culture of its fandom,
and how those fans were toxic pieces of shit to Kelly Marie Tran and
Daisy Ridley,
among others,
and how the Acolyte is kind of getting the same thing.
Yeah.
And
Before it had even released.
Yeah.
Just when we knew that there were women and there were minorities in it.
Yeah, which, by the way, before it released, it was review bombed before anyone had a chance to see
course.
it. Like, even...
Probably because there were women and minorities in it.
So, like, Kathleen Kennedy gave a candid, like, hey, this is a problem kind of a thing. This is one of those things that I happen to agree with Kathleen Kennedy on.
Let me see if I can find the exact quote here. Let me go. Okay, so, quote, "My belief is that storytelling does need to be representative of all people.
Yes.
That's an easy decision for me. Operating within these giant franchises now, with social media and the level of expectation, it's terrifying. I think Leslie Pedland has struggled a little bit with it. I think a lot of the women who step into Star Wars struggle with this a bit more because of the fan base being so male-dominated, they sometimes get attacked in ways that can be quite personal," unquote. Everything in that quote is factually true.
Factually correct, yeah.
Factually true, like inarguable, and yet there's the worst people in the world are still screaming about it.
I think she knows that too. I think she knows that. Like, by the way, we've said this before. I have no intense love for Kathleen Kennedy.
Yeah,
she's a Hollywood producer. She's rich.
She's done allegedly some extremely shady shit,
or at least has been,
or has turned a blind eye to some extremely shady shit.
And like, that, but when she says something correct, like this is right, this is correct.
When you're right, you're right.
Yeah. So, I'm glad she said it. I will say that they must have market data on this, otherwise she wouldn't have said it, I don't think.
And if you're offended by it, fuck you. You're the problem.
Yeah, fuck off. Yeah. So, and then
that's all the news.
That is all the news. Yep. Well, okay.
Extremely trim news week.
Yes. So let's take I want to make sure that I want to check on something real quick before. I'm still getting used to this iPad too. So you know what that tune is, right? Spanish Flea.
Spanish Flea. That's what it is.
So I play a gig, which is this municipal band, like wind band, that's been around for 150 years, right? And we do Monday night concerts, and it's 2 hours of playing. It's a lot of playing, but we do this intermission, and our MC always says 10-minute intermission, and it's always more like 15, and it drives me crazy. So I've directed my saxophone section, who I lead. I'm going to arrange a saxophone quartet version of Spanish Flea, and we're going to set a timer for 8 minutes, and then we're going to start playing it. And the title on top of the piece will be "Get the Fuck Back to Your Seats." And we're hoping after a few Mondays, people will kind of get the hints, and then
okay.
So anyway, Chris says, "May the Force be with you, Daniel and Chris. I hope you are both having a good night. I really enjoyed the Acolyte. I think the series is going to be my new favorite show." And then
I need to see more, but I like what I saw so far.
Yeah, right. It's we'll talk about it when we get there. A Pageworth says, I don't get the overhating of the show. Anytime I search it on YouTube, it's full of hate videos. That's because that's what YouTube pushes.
There are
to
women
the top.
and minorities, and also YouTube pushes things that get engagement, and hate gets a lot of engagement.
Yeah, so that's why it's mostly YouTube's fault. If YouTube wasn't the way it was, a lot of these guys people would know about them. Here we are. Thomas Avery McNeil says, I chuckle. It's simple sausage party hate fest. Some guys only feel safe in the gym showers. I feel safe in gym showers. That's an entirely different reason. Disney, Lucasfilms, Marvel, they all continue to make content because these blowhards will buy. Yeah, that's the thing, is that all these guys bitching about Acolyte and the ones that are like review bombing, you know that they're watching it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll never get a Disney Plus subscription. It's like, yeah, you do. You have one. Don't fucking lie.
Anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So
the way that we usually do this, obviously, if you're a Star Wars fan, you understand that Star Wars The Acolyte came out yesterday.
Yes.
Episodes longer than I was led to believe they were.
40
minutes,
something like that.
It is entirely reasonable that you haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Not you. I know you've seen it. Yeah. Which, if you haven't, by the way, you should join us at 7 on Discord, because we're going to do a watch party. But we'll do a segment that is spoiler free. and then we'll do a spoiler review, right?
Yep.
And before we start the spoiler review, you'll be well warned,
Yes.
right? So if you've not seen it yet, just get
Cool.
ready, get ready to
leave.
Yeah. So,
Fine. Grab your coat.
Yeah. I do want to start with spoiler-free thoughts.
Spoiler free. Okay. My first thought is every pre-review that said the fight scenes were good was underselling it. Those fight scenes are fucking incredible.
They're great. Yeah.
I think it's Foley art, the sound effects in those fights.
They hit harder,
Yeah.
right?
Like the sound
I noticed that too.
is so good. It sounds like people are getting the shit kicked out.
Right. I noticed that when one of the characters hit another character like in the chest, and it was like a boom. Yeah, it was like a.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was different than what I'm used to in Star Wars.
And the fights are choreographed beautifully in
so much Aikido
in ways that make you think, oh, they actually are using the Force to do all those flips and shit.
There's a visual identity with the Jedi in their martial arts, which is based on Aikido, which is a defensive only martial art that redirects opponents' energy and everything, and that's exactly what they do. And they use the same locks and the same throws and everything. So they have one of their stunt coordinators has to be like super into Aikido. There is something about good mystery stories where the first domino falls and someone sees it, but they don't know how huge it is or where it fits in. It just catches their interest enough for them to start looking into it.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite parts of mystery stories because it gives you an opportunity to try to figure out, like, what does this mean? And by the time you're done, you're like, oh, I had no idea how big that was.
Yeah.
And they had a moment like that in the first episode, right? Where like people get involved thinking it's one thing, and we know that by the end it's going to be something different, but they haven't figured it out yet, and I think that's really neat.
I think the visual design of this show is pretty good. Like, it's recognizably Star Wars. Like, you can tell when a Jedi is a Jedi, but it's also.
Did you like the new Jedi uniforms?
I kind of do.
My partner John loves them. I like them too. I think they're fine. They're obviously based on the High Republic like art and
because
stuff.
that's what era this is.
Right. Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, it's Star Wars in an era that we haven't really seen, like in this medium at least, and they're doing a pretty good job of making something that's familiar but a little bit different.
One of my things on my notes is looks different but also looks very Star Wars. So that's good enough, or good on them for that. I also noted the fight choreography being interesting and engaging, and that Master Saul apparently is super into Aikido, which I enjoyed watching him. I also think it is amazing to me that actor learned English for this role, and is not only like he's not just saying the things correctly, but he's acting the shit out of them.
Yeah.
And I buy it. Like, I buy that he's like, he knows English really well.
Yeah.
And I think he might be my favorite character so far. I think I don't know.
I can see it.
Yeah, there's something about him I really like. I was surprised that the music is way more John Williams than I thought it would be. Because they got the guy that did all the Jordan Peele horror movies, like Get Out, and there are moments where it's like creepy music, but there are elements of it that sound John Williams to me, and I was like, oh, all right, that's pretty neat.
I think to an extent, John Williams has had such an impact on Star Wars that pretty much any composer who gets a gig to do Star Wars is going to at least have that in the back of their minds and think, oh, maybe I should put some more French horns and string doodlies in here.
Yeah, string doodlies. That's a industry-specific music term, by the way.
Yep.
Other than Saul, I find the other characters interesting. I think it's cool that like they're showing the Jedi as like a diverse group with different kinds of people and different levels of ability. Like
and personalities.
Yeah, right.
Like a lot of the prequel era Jedi, at least in the movies, are kind of the same.
Most of them are background characters anyway.
Yeah, there's Yoda, who's quirky and funny. Yeah. And like there's Anakin and Obi-Wan, who are main characters, so they get a pass. But all the other Jedi are just this sort of stoic.
Yeah. They don't. They barely ever get lines even.
But here, like, every single one of the Jedi characters we've met so far has had a distinct personality.
Yeah, I like. There's one that's just to me a complete doofus.
Yeah,
that makes me laugh. And so I think Amanda Stenberg has so far been a really good performance.
Yep.
I like Daphne Keene's performance. There's something subtly devil may cry about her that kind of makes me laugh. Like there's something about her that she's like above all of it, right?
Yeah.
But she's like one of the younger people there,
which almost makes it better.
Yeah.
She's like that snooty teenager who knows everything.
It's like who is that character in Deadpool?
Negatronic Teenage Warhead.
Yes, it's kind of like where she's like kind of quiet and is like, but is really capable. You know, it's what I like about her. And then and we'll get through characters as we introduce them in the story. Wasn't a fan. Dean Charles Chapman's fake beard and hair in the second episode. He's the floaty Jedi.
Oh yeah.
I
guess that looked a little weird.
It did to me because so Dean Charles Chapman, Tommen from Game of Thrones. Who,
oh wow.
Yeah. Right.
Okay.
I know I don't think that actor can grow facial hair. He's like 26, right? And so he's got a weird fake beard, and they had to like figure out how to make his hairline look more receded and everything. Yeah. I thought it looked a little goofy.
It's a little bit weird.
It wasn't something where I was like, I'm never watching this again.
It doesn't like pull you out of it.
It's fine. Yeah. We know from trailers that we'll see the younger version of him and other characters in flashbacks. So that's what he usually looks like, and he doesn't have the. It's like in Obi-Wan Kenobi when Qui-Gon makes his
cameo
at the end, and he's very clearly wearing a wig and a fake beard. It's just not like it's not what he looks like. You know, it was kind of like that, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. So yeah, those are my spoiler-free thoughts.
Okay.
So I think overall.
I think it's off to a very strong start.
It is. I'm interested to know where it goes because there are lots of questions about what is happening, and I have a feeling that there are opportunities for a lot of different twists. And we'll talk about one that happens in the first episode.
I have a prediction for a twist that will come up at the end of the second episode.
Yeah. And so like I want to know more about the story.
I want to see more fight scenes.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to watch the first 2 episodes and have it be just like, you know, I'm done with it, and like there's ash on my face and my hair's all blown out and shit. Like
this is a dense show. Yeah. A lot of stuff happens.
The locations look great, by the way. You could tell that they relied a lot less on the volume. They're actually in the spaces that looks like they're in, which is really nice. Because that gave a weird tint to like Mandalorian season 3 and Book of Boba Fett, and like where you kind of know that they're standing in a 10x10 room with a big fucking LCD or like LED screen.
The technology is incredible, but it is best used in very specific circumstances.
And you know what? You can use it to do a whole ass movie.
Yeah,
because they did it with Matt Reeves' Batman, the Batman. That because it was like during COVID, right? That entire movie happens on the volume, and it looks amazing. It's so good, right? But it's just like they made artistic choices about how certain things looked, and like they kind of folded it into the art direction a little bit, and so like it kind of made sense. Yeah. So anyway, now listen, if you've not seen these episodes, we're about to spoil. We're going to go through every scene. We're going to talk about our theories and what we learned and everything. So please go away. Like in the nicest term
complimentary
possible. Yeah. I don't want to be the guy to because first of all, we're not going to get everything. So you're not going to learn the entire story anyway because we're going to miss stuff anyway. And when we start talking about shit we just start saying really funny, stupid things. And that's not the best way to experience the story, right? We're irreverent and kind of rude about things, and you want to see it for real. So go watch it, come back, and let us know what you thought in the comments. And then if you're still here, I think at the end of both of these, I'll be checking out comments on our post on Facebook that I posted earlier today. But also, this is it's a live, like we're live right now, so I'll be looking at comments as they come in as well. And yeah.
Okay, so episode 1, titled Lost/Found, opens with some blue text. I'll just read real quick. 100 years before the rise of the Empire, it is a time of peace. The Jedi Order and the Galactic Republic have prospered for centuries without war. But in the dark corners of the galaxy, a powerful few learn to use the Force in secret. One of them, a lone assassin, risks discovery to seek revenge.
Mm-hmm.
So we pan down to the planet Ueda.
Of course, there was a pan down.
Mm-hmm. Gotta have it.
Also, they do a lot of the traditional Star Wars scene transitions with the wipes and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. So, character in purple, who we know is May because we've been following all the previews and stuff, walks into a village. She walks up to an alien and says, "Hey, where's your Jedi?" And she gives some money, and the alien points, "Oh, he's in the bar."
I thought, by the way, that was an interesting thing that they're what we learn so far about the Star Wars world as it is, that there are Jedi stationed in different places of the galaxy.
Just hanging out.
It's a lot like the Catholic Church.
Mm-hmm.
How
bishops and cardinals and shit,
and like how they'd have missions and stuff in different places of the world to kind of exert their influence over in this case planets.
Also very different from the Jedi we see in like the prequel era, where they sort of live in the temple and just kind of go out
They're
to
all concentrated.
solve problems.
Yeah, I think there might be more of them in general. So like by the time we see them in the prequels, I think there are only like 10,000 of them. I think there are more of them
that would
in
make
general.
Sense, yeah. So she walks into the bar and walks up to Master Indara's table. This is Carrie-Anne Moss. And says, "Hey, we got unfinished business." She takes a stance. She's like, "Attack me with all your strength."
Yeah, okay. So before I understood the character, I was like, ugh.
It's kind of cringy.
It's real cringy. So what's really funny is that she said, "We have unfinished business," and I immediately heard the fucking siren sound in my head from Kill Bill.
Yeah.
I like how their response, the guys around the table.
So Master Indara is sitting at this table with a bunch of guys who like pause for a beat, and they all just start laughing at her.
Yeah.
And Dara's like, "Dude, chill out. Like, I don't know who you are. I don't have any beef with you."
"Ma'am, this is a noodle shop. What the fuck is your problem?"
May's like, "Fucking fight me." And Dara's like, "Jedi don't attack the unarmed."
I'd much rather not.
May's like, "Yes, you do," and kicks the stool out from under a guy. And this sparks the first
a little
fight.
hint, by the way, at her, just with one line, some good character development.
There's some stuff going on there. So all the guys at the table get up and start trying to fight May, and she just beats the shit out of all of them.
I like how she watches, by the way.
Yep.
Like she's like, "I don't like these guys much anyway, so go ahead and beat the shit out of them."
And Dara's just kind of sitting there for a minute, and like all the civilians start fleeing out of the bar because they don't want to be part of
another
this
fight
shit.
in the noodle shop.
So May just kicks the shit out of all of them and does a little force stuff. Finally, Indara stands up and kind of grabs her wrist when she's about to punch someone, and
she's about to hurt somebody. It's like when she decides to get involved, because there's a guy whose gun like sticks in his holster, and then she like throws a whole ass table at him.
Yeah,
and she looks like she's about to like fuck him up, and then she's like, "I better get involved here."
So like May and Indara start fighting, and there's a couple sequences in here where May like tries to reach and grab her lightsaber.
I know,
which I have thoughts about this.
Me too. Yes.
But every time Indara pulls away. So May pulls out a knife and starts trying to stab Indara, but it's still not working. Indara grabs her and is like, "Who the fuck trained you?" May just kind of escapes upstairs, and she takes a villager hostage, holds her at knife point.
Oh, that fucking move she did up Indara.
Yeah.
She did the fucking Kill Bill up the stairs.
So Indara runs upstairs. Fuck this. Pulls out her radio, says, "We got an unidentified Force user here."
Again?
So like they have a little stare down, and May tosses her hostage over the railing, and Indara catches her with the Force, and May pulls a Batman. She's just
gone.
Indara looks up, not there.
Yeah.
But there's an open window. So Indara just kind of walks towards the window thinking, "Oh, maybe she's out there." And then May attacks out of nowhere.
Yeah, then she pulls a Darth Vader.
Yeah. So there's more martial arts, and then Indara immobilizes May and then like pulls down her mask. She's like, "Wait a minute. Who the I know you."
Well, so she's got braids covering a tattoo on her head, and she tries to move the hair.
Like tries to pull away from that.
Right.
So, like now, the two of them know each other. May's like, "I'm here to kill you," and Force pushes her away. She throws a bunch of knives, which Indara finally pulls out her lightsaber and cuts them all. Indara's like, "Look, you are not gonna win here. Like, let's just be real here." May's like, "You pulled your weapon. Are you sure you want to kill me? Like, is that really a Jedi thing to do?"
I like how she doesn't say anything, but the look on her face is the weapon's out, isn't it?
So there's a noise downstairs, and it's the bartender standing up. So May's like, fuck you, throws a knife at him, and Dara like stops it with the force, and May stabs her in the heart.
Yep.
And
now, if you were like me, I was pretty surprised to see Carrie-Anne Moss die in the first
5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
And like May, this was a good moment of acting on Amanda Stenberg's part, because May looks kind of surprised that she actually did it.
Shit.
Like, I didn't think it'd be that easy. So May grabs her knives, but leaves Indara's lightsaber, which I also think is weird.
Yeah.
So she walks up to the bartender and like grabs her knife back and is about to kill him when she notices the bartender's kid is like hiding behind his leg, and she's like, "Fucking kids!"
Yeah.
And turns around and walks away. And then we get the opening animation. So an alarm buzzes, and a character played by Amanda Stenberg sits up in bed gasping.
Slightly shorter hair.
Okay. Looks a little bit panicked, but, gets her composure back. And her droid Pip chirps at her, and she's like, oh, Pip.
Okay. Pip is a tricorder from Star Trek, right? Does he not look exactly like a tricorder?
A little bit. Like, he doesn't do the sensors thing, but he's like a welding torch and a screwdriver.
Yeah, he's like a multi-tool, yeah.
Yeah. So there's a red light flashes, and May's like, well, fuck. Amanda Stenberg's character says, fuck, I guess we gotta go to work. So she's dressed up in normal Star Wars clothes, and she steps down the hallway, and then this dude named Phil is like, hey, Osha, how you doing? And he's like, why didn't you come out to Nar Shaddaa with us last night? What the fuck were you doing? And May's like, Osha says, I don't have to fucking tell you what I do on my day off. Fuck you. He's like,
don't be nosy. Also, did you notice the in this scene there's a proto gonk droid walking around? Yeah.
He's like, oh, what? No rest for the Wicked? And she's like, no, the Wicked definitely do rest. So they walk past a couple of Nemoidians, and May's like, well, what the fuck's the emergency? Folks like, the shields are broken. May's like, they don't ever fucking use the shields. How do they know they're broken?
They're Nemoidians.
Yeah. So they put on their spacesuits and go out to do repairs on the freighter they're on. On the bridge of the ship, the Nemoidian captain is like, what the fuck is taking so long? Turn on the shields. And his Nemoidian assistant says, the techs are working on it. Chill, dude. Captain's like, fuck the techs. The cargo's more important. May's like, I can hear you, asshole. Osha says, I can hear you, asshole. While Philic might be disposable, I'm the protagonist here, and you don't get a show without me.
I have plot armor.
Yeah.
By the way, we're watching this episode, and my partner John looks at me and is like, why don't the Nemoidians sound like they sound in episode 1? And I was like, you mean vaguely Asian?
Vaguely racist?
Yeah. And he's like, oh. He's like, no, they don't sound Asian. And then he does one of the lines from episode 1 in the voice, and he's like, oh my God.
Everyone's a little bit racist. So Philic and Osha are out there, and Philic says some technobabble, and Osha pulls out Pip to fix it using a welding torch. And this causes the pressure valve to explode. And Osha's like, fuck, I'll go fix it. So she walks over there, and she's like, it's on fire, which shouldn't really happen in space. But she's like spellbound by it and has a little traumatic flashback.
Sends her back to somewhere.
Yeah. Like we don't see anything. We just hear some voices. We hear
some voices that, if I remember the subtitles correctly, was May saying, "I can't let her leave."
Okay.
If I remember, if that's the scene or it was another one of the scenes, I think it was
we'll
that
just
one.
Keep that tucked in the back of our heads. So Felix like, "Hey, you gonna fucking fix that?" And she's like, "Yeah, fine." She pulls out Pip, uses him as a fire extinguisher. Just then, Jedi Starfighter swoops past, and Felix like,
it's a Jedi Vector, which the only reason I know about this, I started doing a deep dive in the High Republic books. The Jedi Vectors are personal starcrafts that usually only fit 1 or 2 people in them.
Yeah. So Felix is like, "Oh, friends of yours?" And Osha's like, "Don't know about that." So the Jedi march onto the bridge looking real spiffy.
Oh, they're threads, man.
Oh, yeah.
And especially, so this is Yord and his Padawan, right?
Yes.
Tazi, yeah.
Tazi, yeah.
Tazi, yeah.
Tazi, yeah.
A thread we'll keep coming back to throughout the story is that Yord apparently cares about his drip very much, and you can tell that somewhere before this he runs through a checklist in his head. He's like, okay, I'm gonna walk onto this bridge and I'm gonna look badass, and this is going to be perfectly pressed. Everything looks. I'm going to stand a certain
I'm
way.
gonna introduce myself and sound real heroic.
Yeah.
So the Jedi march onto the bridge. The captain's like, "The fuck are you guys doing here?" The Jedi are like, "My name is Yord Fandar. This is my Padawan, Taziloa. We're looking for a former Jedi named Osha Anasea." Captain's like, "We're a cargo ship. We don't have any passengers." Yord is like, "Well, you see, Osha is a mechanic who bums rides from ships in exchange for fixing them." The captain's like, we don't use mechanics. That's illegal.
That's illegal.
Yeah, we use droids for that shit.
We would never.
Yord is like, steps forward, raises his hand. The captain starts freaking out. And the assistant's like, "Oh, yep, Osha is just down the hall."
Okay, he really does go to like mind trick him though, right? Which
I think it's either a bluff or Yord thinks he's going to have to pull this out of him.
I think he would have, and even if he didn't, there's a character that does it later on anyway, and it
says things about the Jedi of this era,
right? Or the fact, there are other things too.
Yeah. So Osha comes back to her room, and then Yord is sitting on her bed, and then they're old friends. They're just like, "Hey, Yord, you old son of a bitch, how you doing?" So Yord was made a knight 2 years ago, and Osha's like, "You dumbass! It probably took you that long to study for your finals."
You will notice. So he's sitting on her bed when she comes in, right? He's got his cape like fanned out behind him so that he doesn't sit on it, and then when he stands up, he very carefully picks it back up.
So Yord is like, "I never thought I'd see you again. What the fuck are you doing all the way out here in the boonies?" Osha's like, "Well, yeah, we're really far out. What the fuck are you doing here anyway?" So she reaches into her pocket for Pip, and Yord is like grabbing at his lightsaber hilt, and she's like, "Okay, that's a little weird. You're seeming a little jumpy. Like, what has your panties in a bunch?" So Tassie walks in, and Yord's like, "Well, why don't you sit down?" So Osha sits, and Tassie's like, "How long have you been a mech neck?" And Osha looks back and forth between them, like, "Okay, what are we doing here?" Ever since I left the Order 6 years ago, Tassie's like, "It's kind of dangerous out there." She's like, "Well, yeah, Jedi training doesn't really give you a lot of transferable skills."
Other than the sense of like inflated self-worth.
Yeah. Tassie's like, "Okay, so when did you join the Jedi?" Osha says, "When I was 8. And by the way, Yord already knows all this. Why are you asking me? Tassie's like, "Well, you were kind of old to be a Jedi, weren't you?" And Yord's like, "Also, you were in mourning." Osha's like, the Jedi Council let me in. So this whole interrogation scene is just to give us, the audience, her backstory.
Some exposition, yeah.
But
so basically, she was probably a little too old to be a Jedi,
and her family died in a fire.
Yeah,
and she had attachments.
Right, she had some baggage, but the Jedi were like, you know what? This has always worked out for us in the past, and will always work out for us in the future. We'll take a gamble. We'll let you in.
Sure. So she's like, "Okay, but seriously, why are you here?" Tassie's like, "Well, last night a Jedi was murdered on Ueda." Osha's like, "Who?" And Yord says, "Master Endara." Tassie's like, "The suspect looked an awful lot like you." Osha's like, "Wait a minute, you thought I killed her?"
Which, by the way, everyone watching this is like,
"Yes."
Wait.
Yes.
Was that not the same person?
It's Amanda Stenberg. Tassie says, "Well, okay, what's your alibi?" Osha's like, "I was right here asleep."
I was here. I was at fucking work.
Yeah, and also, why do you think I killed her?
Which, by the way, a real easy solution to all this, go talk to the fucking Nemoidians.
Yeah.
Be like, they'll tell you that I was here last night.
Yeah. So Yord says, "Well, Endara told the council to stop training you." Osha's like, No. The Jedi didn't fire me. I quit."
Yeah.
Yord and Tassie kind of look at each other, and Tassie walks out. Osha says, like, "Come on, you really think little old me could kill a Jedi master?" Tassie brings in the bartender. Like, "Yep, that's her.
Yeah, that's her.
She killed her."
Yep. They all look the same.
Yord is like, "Well, yeah, I kind of have to."
Yeah.
So
there is a moment where she does something, and he like snap reaches for his lightsaber.
Yeah, it's when she's pulling Pip out of the little holster to put him on the charger.
Yeah, there is clearly like
he's tense.
Yeah.
So they take Osha and Pip down to the prison transport and say, "Osha, we're taking him back to Coruscant." Osha's like, "You're making a huge mistake. Like, I didn't do it." And she goes along with it, and the prison ship separates from the freighter, and hyperspace is out. So now we go to Coruscant, where Master Soul is supervising a meditation class for some younglings. He's talking about, your eyes are bullshit, but the Force will never bullshit you, so trust the Force.
At least, actually, the Force will bullshit you too. You just have to figure out how to know when it's bullshitting you.
Yeah.
So that's in the next lesson.
Yeah. So Vernestra Rowe walks in, and the kids and Soul's like, okay, tell me what you see. And the kids see balance and life. And then this one kid says, I see fire consuming and destroying everything I have ever cared about.
Uh-oh.
Soul is like, yeah, about that. The Force is very powerful, like fire or the ocean. But you're going to learn all about that after lunch. Now get the fuck out of here.
I was like half waiting for him to like look to an assistant and be like, and then like dragging her out.
Yeah. So he's like, hey, Vernestra, how you doing? She's like, the kids are lucky to have you as a teacher.
She pulls her hood up. She's like, well, now I'm bald. Because the last time we see Vernestra Rowe in the book, she has hair. Yeah.
So yeah.
She's quite a bit older. She's over 100 years old now.
Vernestra's like, well, the kids are lucky to have you. And he's like, I'm lucky to be here. Vernestra's like, I remember when you were their age. You were a shy little fucker. Soul's like, okay, but seriously, what's going on? So Vernestra says, you and Indara were friends, right? And Soul's like, yeah, I was very sad to hear she was murdered. Ro's like, okay, yeah, well, here's the thing. Your old Padawan Osha killed her, and we have her in custody. And
Surprise!
And Soul is, like, visibly shaken here. He's like, wait a minute. Vernestra's like, damn, you really liked her. Soul's like, Osha was a devoted Padawan. Why the fuck would she kill Indara? Vernestra's like, I don't know, but, like, we have... An eyewitness who says that she killed her, so pretty open and shut here. So I was like, but me and Indara saved her from the giant fire when she was a kid. Like, this has to be a misunderstanding. So Vernestra has to wrap this up. She has to be somewhere. So she tells Soul, like, look, it can't become public that a former Jedi killed a master. It'd be terrible politics.
Yep.
So, like, we need to just get this done.
They're
and
already
talking,
like 3 minutes into their conversation, they're already talking about their political enemies and shit.
And, like, I need you to be on board with this. And Soul's like, yeah, okay, I guess. And Vernestra's like, cool, I'm out of here.
Don't cause a political problem for me.
So on the prison ship, Osha is sitting in a cage by herself, and the dude in the next cage over is like tripping balls, has this weird parasite thing over his mouth. It's like the fucking
hugger thing from Alien.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
So Osha just kind of looks over at this guy, and the guy in the next cage says, yeah, that's a Dybbuk. They use it on violent criminals. And Osha's like, is he okay? Like, should we do something? He's like, oh, no, he's having the time of his life.
The guy behind him's like...
kind of messes with your brain, but don't worry about that. By the way, did you really kill a Jedi? Osha's like, no, I did not kill a Jedi. The other dude's like, okay, we're breaking out of here. You want in?
We weren't guilty of our crimes either.
Yeah. Osha's like, what? Where the fuck are you going to go? We're in hyperspace. Dude's like, okay, foolproof plan. We take out the droids who are flying the ship, then we jump into the escape pods, and we're free. Osha's like, that's a ludicrously dangerous plan. Like, why are you doing this? Dude says, you really want to leave your fate up to the Jedi? Osha's like, yeah, actually, I trust the Jedi. The prisoners all laugh at her. Yeah. And then the cyborg prisoner does his thing.
They've had vastly different experiences with the Jedi.
So the prisoners have a cyborg who shuts down the droids, and the ship is out of hyperspace and into an asteroid field, which, as we know, the odds of surviving are 7 billion to 1 or whatever. So the prisoners, subdue the guard droid and escape the cage, and they're running to the escape pods, and Osha's like, hey, you gonna let me out? And they're like, no, fuck you.
You know what I really loved about this, by the way, when they come out of hyperspace, the pilot droids convert to seats.
Yeah.
Which means that, like, do they have to deal with people sitting on them all the time?
Maybe.
Because as we know, droids are sentient beings in the Star Wars universe.
Which is just kind of horrifying.
Yeah.
If we put any thought at all into it. So the ship runs into more asteroids, which sends Pip sliding across the floor. So Osha reaches out and tries to use the Force, and it just doesn't work. But the ship takes another hit, and Pip slides right up to her cage, and she uses him to open the cage, and is running to escape pod.
She tears his head off, and then, like...
Screwdriver, and So she's running to the escape pod, but she turns back and notices the dude tripping balls in his cage, and she's like, well, it wouldn't be very nice to just leave him to die. So she, opens his cage and, like, stuns the thing off him, and he,
does a real creepy run up the wall, and
he, like, kind of screams and, like, shoves her aside and runs into the escape pod. And she's like, motherfucker!
Yeah. Which, to be fair, I don't know if I blame him too much.
No good deed goes unpunished. So Osha, without an escape pod, just runs up to the bridge, try to figure something out, but everything is fucked. She's like, well, shit, and just kind of straps herself in and prepares for a crash landing, which the ship crashes into this snow planet.
It takes a pretty soft landing.
Yeah.
Like
could be worse.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some kind of, like, there has to be some kind of system that softens the blow a little bit.
You would think.
Yeah.
So back on Coruscant, Sol is looking at a hologram of Osha when Jackie Lon comes in. And Sol like kind of turns off the hologram, like hides it in his sleeve, and Jackie's like, yeah, so Vernestra wants you down at the prison level, and Sol's like, okay, cool, let's go. Jackie's like, okay, why do you keep pictures of Osha? That's kind of attachment-y, isn't it?
Sol's like, I would like the record to reflect I was not masturbating.
That would be really gross.
And it was not Pornhub I was watching.
Okay. Sol's like, well, our memories are lessons, and if we don't learn from the past, Jackie's like, we're doomed to repeat it. You say this every fucking time. So down in prison, the escaped convicts are...
By the way, the Jedi have a prison.
Yeah. Says more about the Jedi of this era.
They have a prison at their school.
Yes.
Like, what the fuck?
So the convicts are yelling about how it wasn't their idea. The fucking Jedi killer wanted to do it. Like, Ernesto's like, okay, so we got all these guys back, but there's no Osha. The tripping balls guy says, the Jedi killer was super duper dark and evil, blah, 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 blah. And Sol just kind of mind tricks him. He's like, dude, calm down. Tell me what happened.
Chill. Please.
The dude's like, okay, well, she helped me and I fucked her over, which is not very nice of me.
Yeah, so not only do they have a prison, but he walks right in there and overrides this man's free will.
Yeah. So, like, Sol looks back at Vernestra, and Vernestra's like, okay, she did one kind of nice thing, but she still killed Master Indara, which is not cool. Sol's like, is there any sign of life on Karlak, the planet they crashed into? And Vernestra's like, well, the Republic sent some probe droids. They'll probably figure it out. And Sol's like, let me go find her. Vernestra's like, there's no fucking way she's still alive. Sol is like, no, she is absolutely still alive. I guarantee it.
I feel a little tingle.
Vernestra's like, I can't have you out in the field. Like, I need you here to teach the younglings how to meditate and shit. Sol is like, look, she was my student. You're accusing her of serious crimes. Let me bring her in. Let me fix whatever I did wrong. Vernestra's like, okay, fine. You get a small team, and may the Force be with you. Fuck off. So Osha wakes up gasping again. This seems to happen every time she wakes up. The ship is completely fucked, and there's snow coming in, and so Osha kind of looks around the wreck trying to figure out what she's got. There's a little chittering sound which draws her attention, and oh god, there's a dark figure behind.
Yep.
Osha turns to it, and the figure just runs away, and Osha chases after him. So turns out Jackie Lon is part of Sol's very small team, and she's feeling good about things. And Sol's like, okay, we need backup. Jackie's like, oh god, you're not bringing Yord, are you? Sol's like, what's wrong with Yord? Jackie's like, no, nothing, absolutely nothing. Promise, cross my heart, really. Yord is fine.
Wonder if he's wearing clothes today.
So they get to their ship, where Yord has taken off his shirt and is like steam cleaning it.
This dude. Oh my god. So by the way, I was a little surprised. They don't do there are two big exceptions to this. Kylo Ren and Anakin in Episode 3. Otherwise, they don't really do shirtless dudes.
No.
Which it's not like it's something in Star Wars that I've been really missing or anything. I was really surprised. I was like, damn, that's a lot of skin.
Yeah.
Because I'm not used to seeing that in Star Wars.
Yeah. So Yord starts stammering and apologizes like, I'm sorry I didn't bring Osha in. So I was like,
he fucking
don't worry about it.
Properly bows without his shirt on. So I was like, oh god.
So I was like, don't worry about it. We're just gonna leave.
I love how Jackie looks so thoroughly unimpressed with him, and then it's like, Yord, put your fucking clothes on, and he's like, oh,
my notes say Jackie says, Yord, for the love of God, put your shirt back on, you colossal fuck up. So they take off. I just love their interaction.
Yord is an idiot.
Yeah,
there's something because
there's a reason it took him till he was 20 or something to pass his trials.
On one hand, he knows all the regulations and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, you can just tell that he takes an extra second to get there. He's like the Microsoft Edge of the Jedi, where it's like they've figured it out, and he's like, wait. Hold on.
You mean we need to use the Force?
Wait a minute. And he's trying to piece it together, and it's not that complicated, dude.
So Osha, meanwhile, is still chasing this figure around Karlak, and it turns back, and oh god, it looks like a younger version of her. Girl says, "Hi, Osha." Osha's like, "Is that you, May?" And figure says, "Hello, sister," in this really deep, creepy voice.
Hello, Clarice.
And then all of a sudden, Osha's back on Brendock, her childhood home, and a woman calls her name, and all of a sudden, everything's on fire.
Yep.
So May starts running, and Osha runs after her, and May starts reciting this little poem. You're with me, I'm with you, always one, but born as two. A little bit creepy.
Yeah.
So they run into the building, and May starts reciting, "As above sits the stars, and below lies the sea. I give you you." And Osha says, "You give me me." And May is like, "Oh, so you do remember." And all of a sudden, Osha is young Osha too. She's like, "May, is that really you?" May's like, "Yep." Osha's like, "Well, did you kill Indara?" And May's like, "Yep."
Yeah.
And all of a sudden her eyes turn all
Caught
black
me.
and spooky, and it's like, "I will kill them all."
Yeah.
Then Osha turns back to her.
I require blood.
So Osha turns back to her normal self and wakes up gasping on Karlak. Pip is beeping at her. And Osha's like, "You're fine. I'm fine. We're all fine. Except I just saw my long dead sister / dissociative identity. So that's kind of weird."
Except that I am tripping balls.
Yeah. So the Jedi shifts in hyperspace, and Sol is ruminating, and Jackie's like, how well do you know Osha? And Sol's like, 16 years ago, I was on Brendok when her sister lit the fire that killed our entire family. Osha's the only one that survived, and Sol took her as a Padawan. Jackie and Yord are like, "I didn't know she had a sister. That wasn't in her file." Sol says, "Yeah, she had a twin named May." Jackie's like, "You don't think..." Sol's like, no, May is definitely dead.
How is she the first one to think about this, by the way? Like, I love Sol.
Mm-hmm.
And
he has a massive blind spot for Osha.
And Yord's not going to figure it out anyway.
No,
because he's a fucking idiot, right? But, like, it's just like, okay, you knew she had a twin, and you were so sure that she didn't do it. How was your first thought not, oh, it was her evil twin?
I'm going to say that we didn't haven't seen what actually happened in the fire, so he might have very good reason to believe May is dead.
He says that he saw her die. Yeah. So I guess he has a reason to believe, I guess.
Sol says, "No, May is definitely dead. I saw her die." So they get to Karlak, and they send a smaller ship down to the crash site, and Osha is digging through the wreck for supplies, and then she sees the Jedi come down, and she's like, "Oh shit, it's the Fuzz. I gotta cheese it." She starts running. So the Jedi are looking around. Yord's like, "Look, there's no fucking way she survived this." Jackie's like, "Well, clearly someone's been here, Yord, you dumbass." Yeah. Yord's like, "It's just scavengers. Don't worry about it."
Jackie's like, "The pieces falling in for you, Yord. You're starting to figure it out."
I love how condescending she is.
Yeah. To be fair, like, I don't know how I could talk to Yord without being like, How
do you function?
Yeah, how did you become a Jedi again?
So
let me see that diploma.
Yeah. So Sol is walking around, feeling things out with the Force, and he looks real disturbed. He's like, "Fucking follow me," and starts running.
Ooh, my nipples.
So Osha is running through the snow with the Jedi following her, and so she runs into a narrow cave, and Sol and Co follow. She follows it all the way to the cliff, and like Yord pulls out his lightsaber for light because he's like, "Oh, I look so cool doing this."
he's like, "Yes, lightsaber."
So she gets out to this cliff at the end of the cave, and Yord's like, "Stop! I command you in the name of the Republic and the Order to fucking stop what you're doing." Osha almost backs up the cliff, and Sol's like, "Hey, Osha." Osha's like, "Oh, Sol, hey, how you doing?" She's like, "Look, I didn't do it." Sol's like, just step away from the edge and we can talk about this. It's like, "You gotta believe me." And she accidentally steps back off the edge, and Sol catches her with the Force and pulls her back up, and he smiles because he's glad to see her.
Yeah.
It's kind of heartwarming. Osha's like, "May is alive." Sol's like, "I believe you."
Yeah.
Like, "You need to come with us."
Sol's like, "Actually, that makes perfect sense given the data we've collected."
Yeah, this makes sense now.
And Yord's like, "Wait.
Who the fuck is May?"
Who's May?
So they walk back through a cave, and like Yord's raising his lightsaber, and Jackie has these handcuffs out, and Sol's like, "Just chill the fuck out, guys. It's fine." So on another planet, there's this rocky beach, and where May is walking along the shore.
Looks a bunch to me like Octo.
Could be.
Yeah, it looks like Skellig Michael kind of.
Has that feeling.
Skellig Michael. Yeah.
So there's this distorted voice, as if it's coming from some sort of helmet, perhaps, that says, "The Jedi are living in a dream. If you attack the Jedi with a weapon, you'll lose. But an Acolyte kills without a weapon. An Acolyte kills the dream." And May walks up to this figure we only see from behind. Figure pulls out a red lightsaber. Oh, God. And that's
for effect. For effect, yeah.
Yes. Just so that we can know for sure that this is a Sith.
And then May goes, "Take off that ridiculous mask."
And roll credits.
Yeah.
That's episode
1. And then, wait, how does an iPad work? Oh, here we go. I figured it out. We'll go through a few of these. This is tough for us because like there were 2 episodes, and I really thought so. I remember reading they're gonna be like 30-minute episodes, but these were definitely like 40-minute episodes, which is good. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And so like we open on one of the local Jedi temples, right? It's like a Catholic mission. Yeah. And like they've got like a Ring doorbell, and
it's like in Jabba the Hutt's palace.
Yeah. And like a kid kind of harasses it, and
like, hey, fucking pay attention.
Yeah. And he like pops his head out and shit, and then May, who is like kind of hanging out over here, throws a device. It tweaks out, and she kind of slips right into the
slithers
into the
in and gives kids some coins. While
she's like, here's your fucking money, kid. So she sneaks through and finds a floating Jedi Master who's just in the middle of the room, like, hey, look at me, I can float.
just chilling.
Yeah. And so May addresses him as Master Torben, who we know is the character played by Dean Charles Chapman. And she's like, we have unfinished business. And then there's the Kill Bill theme.
You can tell she's practiced the speech so many times.
And she's like, attack me with all
like,
your strength.
I'm going to make this work sometime.
Yes. And you can, like, I'm convinced it's supposed to be a little cringy, right? Because, like, May has strong homeschool kid energy. Yeah. You know what I mean?
We'll get into this later, but I think I know why. Yeah.
So she's like, all right, I'm going to whoop your ass now. Because he just doesn't
He's
react.
Just
Eyes are closed.
There, not doing it.
He does have like a gnarly-ass scar and everything. So she tries to hit him, and every time she tries to hit him, she runs into like a force shield, right? And like she's like,
I can't even get close to him. Like she's like 2 or 3 feet away.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, I'll do my wall flip kick.
Yeah, that always works.
Runs up the wall. And then just bites it right on the floor. She like tries to kick him and just bounces right off, right? And so she gets up, she like dusts herself off, and she's like, "You motherfucker!" And then like she hears a voice, like one of the Jedi Masters, like, "Oh, there's this." Yeah. And she's like,
Hold that thought.
We will discuss this again later." And then so she jumps. She does she jumps out. So Osha and Jackie are hanging out on their ship. They're on their way, right? Yeah. And like Jackie is trying to fix something on the ship, and Osha is like, why don't you try pulling that lever there? And she doesn't. It fixes the problem. And she looks around like, and she like kind of smiles at her, and then like Saul walks in, and she like has to pretend like you know, which by the way, I could ship these two. Like if they're trying to make that happen, I could see it. Okay. They talk about her being a mech-neck. Mostly it's dangerous. Yeah. And
that's why they only let droids do it.
But she's like, but you know, droids are literally trash cans and they can't move. You know,
sentient trash cans.
Meanwhile, Saul and Yord are talking about, because Yord's like, we should put the handcuffs on her. We brought the handcuffs. We should use the handcuffs. And he's like, don't be a fucking idiot.
She's not a prisoner, Yord.
Yes. He's like, you fucking dingus. Do you really think that she killed Trinity or Indara? And like, we literally just found out that her twin could be alive. Like, are you following it yet? There's probably someone else. And he's just like, I don't get it. And he's like, okay, so if her twin was alive, like, she wouldn't have the training to kill Indara. And he's like, Osha doesn't have the training to kill Indara. Like, she was a Jedi, but that was fucking Indara. Like, you don't have the training to kill Indara.
Also, that was 6 years ago, and she hasn't trained since.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's like, so like, she's fucking useless because she hasn't practiced it. Like, and Yord's like, idea? What if they're working together? And he's like, counterpoint. What if you're a fucking idiot? Let's stop talking about this. So he picks up the phone and calls Vernestra. And Vernestra's like, wait, she has a sister? And he's like, yeah, she supposedly died 16 years ago. So Vernestra's like, okay, I should have led with this. Osha apparently tried to break into the Jedi Temple last night, which is impossible because she's in your custody. I'm starting to think the twin thing might actually be like a good idea. And he's like, okay, so do we investigate or do you want me to bring Osha back to Coruscant? She's like, go investigate. So Osha points out that where they're going is where Torben hangs out, right? So, and of course Yord's like, no, we should shove Osha out the airlock. Like, she can't come with us. She can't sit with us. And Saul's like, fuck you. The Jedi said we're all going, so just calm the fuck down. So meanwhile, May pays a visit to a new character called Kamir, played by Manny Jacinto, who is very hungover.
Yes.
Had a lot to drink the night before. It's not even his shop,
Yeah.
by the way, because he's like, oh yeah, I stole this from the owner. Which, by the way, is that owner dead?
Probably.
There's something really sinister about him. I think he performs a lot.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. So May tells him about the force shield, and he's like, "You got to find the weakness." And he's like, "It was a literal fucking force shield. There is no weakness.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is." And he's like, "Yeah, everyone's got a fucking thing." And she's like, "Okay, shut up and make me a poison with this leaf." And he's like, if you're having trouble killing a comatose monk, you're gonna get fucked when you find the Wookiee." And she's like,
I didn't come here for
Yeah.
editorializing. I came here for the poison.
"No lectures, please." But also, we find out that there are two other Jedi she plans to kill after Torben. One of them, the Wookiee, apparently, and also, like, you can assume that the other one's Saul, right? So, she says, "I will kill one of them without a weapon and please the master." And then you're like, "Oh, this is starting to get weird." Because why? Why would you have to do that? Because we know the guy from the end of the previous episode, and they're playing the pronoun game with him.
Presumably the master.
Right.
Yeah.
And then Kamir says, the Jedi justify this is the line from the trailer. Their galactic dominance in the name of peace, and peace is a lie. And she's like, "Oh, that's from the Sith code." And he's like, "Well, we don't know that because we're not Sith." And Kamir goes, "Look, Tobin isn't as zen as he thinks he is. Like, he hasn't found peace. Like, what he really needs is someone or something that only you can get, which is absolution." And so he makes the poison for May, and he's like, "Here's your fucking poison." On our way out, she says, "Oh, probably shouldn't tell him about this because we'll probably both get in trouble." And he's like, "Good idea." Osha and Jackie bond a little bit more. She asks her about the tattoo, and she's like, "Oh, I got so fucked up."
Soul asks her about the tattoo.
I thought Jackie did.
Nope, that's Soul.
Oh. Yeah, well, it turns out she got really fucked up somewhere. She got really drunk.
Oh, she's like, "You fucking hate my tattoo, don't you?" And Soul's like, it's not my place to judge.
Not up to me.
But also, it looks kind of shitty.
Yeah, also, I don't know, I kind of dig it. It's not that bad. So, they talk about May, and you can tell, like, the amount of regret in his voice. He said, I wanted to save you both. And Osha genuinely was like, has forgiven Saul for it, right? In fact, she might not even think that he was ever at fault to begin with. And it's like she apparently is in like the opposite place that May is at, who is blaming, and like Saul figured out how to make peace with it, but Osha didn't. She just couldn't like reconcile it, and Saul tried to teach her and like how to not be so crazy about it, and she's like, "Well, maybe I wasn't a very good student," and he says, "Maybe I wasn't a very good teacher." It's one of the things I like about his characters, though. Like, he's really down to earth, and he doesn't seem to have much of an ego. Like, he's perfectly willing to entertain the idea that maybe he just wasn't a very good teacher, or like maybe he messed something up, So they get to Olega, and they visit the local temple, the temple, and like they got a couple of like local Jedi, like one of them's like a real big dude. You can tell that they probably don't get a lot of action out there, right? And they're like, "Oh shit, like I didn't know they were sending people like Jedi from Coruscant out here for our like little break-in."
Damn.
And they're like, "Well, we're investigating this thing that might be in another thing." And they're like, "Okay.
Hey, we arrested this child."
Yeah, oh yeah. We're gonna put her in our jail." And they're like, "No, stop. We're gonna question her." So Jackie like gets some information, and she like admits to like, "Oh, she paid me, and I harassed the Ring doorbell." And she thinks that Osha is May. She's like, "Oh, it's fucking her. She's right there. Like, that's who did it." So Saul is like, "I need to speak to Torben." And the Jedi dude's like,
Torben doesn't speak to anybody.
You can try.
You'll be talking to a wall.
Yeah, and he's like, he'll talk to me. We're fucking friends. Yeah. So May, meanwhile, is back for her second visit to Torben, right?
It has gone skittering inside.
Yep. So they're talking at the front gate. She slips in, and she's like, "I know why you took the bearish vow," which is a really neat, deep cut to the comics and to some other Star Wars lore, which is a vow of penance. It isn't necessarily always, I don't think it's necessarily always silent, but it's usually some kind of solitary meditation when a Jedi believes that they've done something very bad and they need to atone for it, right? And she's like, "Here's the deal. Confess your crimes to the Jedi Council or kill yourself, and I'll forgive you." And like he like opens an eye and is like, "I'll take the second option." And like takes the poison and drinks it, right?
Which, holy shit, what has this guy done?
Yeah. Well, and he says, we thought we were doing the right thing, and then, like, falls over. So, on the way to Torben, like, the group split, because, like, Osha sees Kid May, fucks off after her. Yord is like, wait
a minute.
I better go with her.
Yeah.
So he follows her. So Osha's the first one to get to Torben. So for a moment, it looks like maybe she killed him.
Yeah,
and
she's poking around, looking into the vial,
and then so
the
like,
Jedi get there like, "Ho!
Yeah,
step away from the body."
He pulls a fucking lightsaber and shit, and Yord is like,
Chill
I was
the
watching
fuck
her.
out. I saw her the entire time.
She didn't kill him.
She was dead. He was dead when we got here.
Don't like her, but she didn't do this. So they discovered the poison was made from bunta, which it's an herb that can only be found in Osha's homeworld, right? So they're like, wait a second. That has like a half-life, and the sodium breaks
Couldn't
down,
have been
blah, blah,
very
blah.
far.
Like, it had to have been made locally. Where is your closest fucking pharmacy? And they're like, there's like one right there.
Yeah.
And there's like, that's probably where it came from. So there are two competing plans on how to deal with this. Jackie is like, guys, let's fucking wrap a blanket around Osha's head. We'll have her go in and pretend like she's May. We'll record the whole fucking conversation. We'll get a confession. We'll arrest him. It'll be really funny. Yord's like, I want to run in and stun her. And then Saul's like, then what? He's like, I don't fucking know.
I haven't thought that far.
She'll be unconscious though.
Saul's like, we'll go with Jackie's plan.
And he's like, so? Like, he's got the fucking stun blast. He's like, oh. And they give it to her, right? They give it to Osha.
And Yord's not happy with it. He can't fucking arm a civilian. What's she going to do?
And Saul's like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I'm a Jedi. So this kind of works.
Yeah.
Kamir says that, like, he says enough to implicate himself.
Like, damn, you really killed that Jedi, didn't you?
Yeah, using the poison that I made for you. And the Jedi are like, that's enough? That's a confession.
Go get him.
Yeah.
Like, Kamir realizes right after that, he's like, wait a minute, you aren't actually.
Well, she's being like really polite.
Yeah.
And like
she's
she doesn't
really,
know what
really
to
polite
yeah.
and awkward and like I don't know
yeah,
how
he's
May
like
acts.
He's like, oh wait, hold on.
Damn, you really do look like her.
So somewhere in there he references the mysterious he figure.
The master.
Yeah, right. So the Jedi barge in and confront him. And
Saul's like, all right, look. You tell us what we want to know, and maybe I won't throw you in prison for the rest of your life.
And then Kamir's like, "Oh, don't do the weird mind wipe thing," and he's acting like real stupid, right? And I'm pretty sure the whole thing is an act. I think I have a theory. Kamir is like way more dangerous than he appears. Like the whole thing just kind of seemed like a performance. And like when they ask, he's like, "So who the fuck is he?" And he's like, that guy, like right there. He's like, no, that's Yord. He's a dumbass. Like, and he just plays dumb. He's like, I don't know what you're talking. I don't know what you're talking about. Can't say too many pronouns, or the fucking incels in the comments will get, So he's like, all I know is she wants revenge against 4 Jedi, and she'll be back here later tonight. So they have an old-fashioned stakeout, and like Osha wants to be with the one to confront him, and Saul's like, no, and she's like, I want justice, and he's like, no, girl, you want revenge, and like, look what the fuck that does to your sister.
Yeah.
So May shows up.
Sidebar here. As much as Osha is obsessed with revenge, I think Soul is obsessed with redemption.
Oh, sure.
For whatever he and the other Jedi did.
Yeah. So May shows up.
Which could be just as self-destructive as Osha's thirst for revenge.
Yeah. I mean, it's an emotional thing, which they're not allowed to do. May shows up, and Saul confronts her, and he's like, you killed Indara, and she's like, and Torben, she's like, yeah, and I fucking did that.
What are you gonna do about it?
And she just fucking attacks him. Yeah. And he's like, bitch,
you
attacked me without a weapon. Why? And she's like, because I'm gonna attack you. And they have this fucking really cool fight. Yeah. And there is this moment where, just like in her fight with Indara, she reaches for Saul's lightsaber. But it's so fucking cool. Like the way it's shot, she reaches for it, and there's a shot of her still reaching for it, and then he's just behind her. Yeah. And like everything slows down, and he's like, and it's like one of those things where, like, I bet, even for a trained fighter like that, I bet encountering a Jedi is just terrifying, because you're just like, how the fuck did you do that? Yeah. So eventually he gets bored of the fight, because he's very easily like. Oh, by the way, when he does the thing where he like moves, he like pickpockets all of her knives. He's like, these are mine now.
Looking for these?
Yeah, and he like drops them on the floor, and she always has one like up her sleeve though. Anyway, eventually, also Yord is up on the balcony, like 10 feet up, like watching with binoculars.
Yeah.
Like, I can't see him. Oh, there they are. So he has her suspended with the Force.
It does kind of like the Kylo Ren thing.
And like, he reads her mind. And he says, I see your master's taking great pains to hide his identity. Even from you, like, I don't think you could tell me who he is even if you wanted to. And she's like, no more brain stuff. Butt stuff is fine. No more brain stuff. And so it turns out that May believes that her sister is dead as well. Yeah. So they both think each other are dead. And she doesn't believe Saul when he's like, no, she's like in the Jedi temple over here. Which she's like listening the whole time to all this. Jackie at some point was like, I'm going to go get the car. Yeah. And so she pulls up with the ship with a fucking spotlight. And
fucking surrender!
In the most, the most secondary Easter egg, I think, in both episodes, to episode 3, she says, in the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic, you're under arrest, which is exactly what Mace Windu says to Palpatine when he walks in. Except he says Chancellor at the end. Yeah. Which, you know that's like a, when they do their Miranda rights class at the Jedi Temple, like that's the thing they learn how to say, right? Mm-hmm. So May pulls another Batman and uses some of the sand.
She uses the Force on the sand and there's a giant cloud and she fucks off.
So May and Osha run into each other.
Yeah, May is stealing a speeder and Osha pulls her stun gun.
Yeah, and she shoots at her, but like misses. I'm pretty sure she just whiffed it on purpose, right? Because like the look that Saul gives her when he catches up, he's like, "Girl, really? She was 3 feet in front of you."
When May looks at Osha, like she's genuinely surprised and I think happy kind of surprised.
Yeah.
More than shocked or anything.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think May is. We're going to talk about this here in a second.
Which leads to my bizarro prediction, but keep going.
Okay. So they call Vernestra Rowe, and she's like, okay, I'm going to convene a small council. We're going to figure this out. We're going to figure out what to do next. Like, and Saul's like, but we know like where she's going next. Yeah. So like, what aren't? And she's like, listen, this wasn't one of our own ranks killing a Jedi. This is an outsider. Like, this is an attack, right? Mm-hmm. We aren't just going to go balls deep in this without thinking about it first. So we're going to strategize. And Saul's like, and she's like, I didn't stutter. Come the fuck back home. And he's like, okay. So, May confronts Kamir, who's like, you sold me out. Fuck you. And he's like, let me make it up to you. Let's go escape to Kofar. And she's like, what the fuck's a Kofar? And he's like, let's get out of here.
Beautiful forest planet where you're Wookiee.
There's a Wookiee Jedi there named Kalnaka. And she's like, oh shit, really? Like, yeah, let's go do that. Yeah. So meanwhile, I like how each one of these has like a little epilogue at the end, right? Mm-hmm. This one is like a couple guys trudging through the forest. I think they're like scavengers or something. Yeah. The forest of Kofar. They encounter a wrecked ship and they're like, let's get that hyperdrive juice. And the fucking Wookiee shows up. They pull their blasters on him. He's like, oh, fuck you. And like takes him to the Force, like breaks one in half and eats it and shit. He's like, get off my land. And they just fuck off, like arms flailing, they fuck off. And he opens the door and walks in and slams the door.
Shrek going back into his house in the swamp.
Yeah. It was a Shrek moment, right? Yeah. It really was. Get out of my swamp.
Out in my swamp.
And that's how the episode ends. Yeah. So, I think the thing we have to talk about first is that I'm pretty sure that. Okay, so the guy that shows up at the end of the first episode is absolutely one of the Sith. Like, he's either the Master or the Apprentice. I don't think they can afford to do a Kylo Ren or the Knights of Ren kind of, they just like they like to look cool and they like maybe they can use the Force a little bit, but they're not actually Sith, or like how Kylo Ren wasn't actually a Sith, right? Yeah. I think that they've got to get into it, and it's got to be either the Apprentice either they're going to invent a character to replace Tenebris. They're going to invent a character that was Tenebris's apprentice before Plagueis.
Or just Tenebris's master.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Or some generations of masters before Tenebris.
I think they're going the other direction with it. I think that Tenebris is probably, or someone like him is like the big guy, right? I'm pretty sure this guy is the apprentice.
That would make sense.
And he's clearly using Kamir and May to his own end, right? Mm-hmm. Which is very like out of the Sith playbook, like the whole manipulation and everything. And I mean, if they're Sith, it could be he's trying to figure out how to kill his master, and they have no idea about any of that. Mm-hmm. They're like, he's just using her like need for revenge and everything. I don't think that May has any idea what she's gotten into.
I think she's been deliberately kept in the dark about many, many things.
Yeah. So there's one of those things. Mm-hmm. I am really interested in these like this apparently arbitrary rule about how May has to kill one of the Jedi without using a weapon. Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure if that's just a rule the guy made just to make it harder for her, or like maybe hoping like she'll die at some point, but he just needs these Jedi dead or something. Yeah. Or maybe he's like auditioning them.
Could be.
Right. He's like, maybe you can be like when I kill my master, like we'll do it together. Yeah. And then you'll be the apprentice. Right. Yeah. The snatching at the lightsabers thing was really strange to me.
That's really weird.
The first one could have just been a cool stylistic choice with the choreography, right? Where like Indara's like, Tenkin step, you'll never get it. Yeah. But they shot her and Saul like the same way. Yeah. Where she's the weird thing is that after she kills Indara, she doesn't want the lightsaber at all. Yeah. Because she's like, I wanted to take it from you, like off your belt.
Like at first when I saw her grabbing for it in the Indara fight, I was like, oh, she doesn't have a lightsaber. She, like maybe her master never told her how to make a lightsaber. She wants one. She wants one of her own.
Oh yeah, okay.
But then she just kind of left it there, and now I'm wondering what the fuck is going on with that.
It could be like a ritualistic thing where it's like she didn't earn it because she killed her with a weapon. Maybe one of these. Oh, that. Yeah,
I think I like that actually.
Yeah, so like maybe one of these Jedi she ends up killing. Does poison count as a weapon?
I'd say so.
So like she has to use her bare hands.
Bare hands or the Force or.
Yeah. So I think probably either Kelnaka or Saul she'll kill and without a weapon, and then maybe take their lightsaber.
Speaking of, for this being like advertised as a murder mystery, like the murder is not a mystery. We know everything about that. It's all the other mysteries surrounding it that are kind of.
There are a lot of threads. Yeah. There's a lot of shit. By the way, the comment. I still don't understand how a dagger could kill that Jedi master, but Sabine and Reva and so many others can survive a saber wound to the chest. First of all, that's not what happened. Sabine wasn't stabbed in the chest; she was stabbed in the abdomen. So was Reva. Indara was stabbed directly in the heart. Like it wasn't just the chest; it was on her left side. It was directly in the heart. I'm surprised she wasn't dead before she hit the floor. Like that's an extremely fatal fucking. Also,
melee wounds in Star Wars always deal exactly as much damage as the plot demands they do.
Yeah, but also consider that she's not using a weapon that would instantly cauterize a wound and cause it to not bleed out. She's using a dagger. Yeah. That
like just a regular piece of sharpened metal.
Right. Yeah, which I think would actually. If you're like, okay, you can get stabbed by a lightsaber or a knife, I'd be like,
lightsaber.
First, none at all, but, and if you're going to stand with a lightsaber somewhere, like not super dangerous, but yeah, a lightsaber, because like, it doesn't matter where it hits you. Like, I mean, if it hits an organ, that organ's done, right? Yeah. But like, you're not going to bleed out. You're not going to die from bleeding out. So that's why. Yeah. Anyway.
So my tinfoil hat theory, this is based almost exclusively on the Osha May showdown when it happes, is by the end of the season, Osha will go to the dark side and May will go to the light side.
Oh, okay. Maybe having to do with that poem or so, because there's a weird that like their little saying that like there's some like weird. So they come from a coven of witches. Maybe that's
Mhm.
just like a mantra or something.
Maybe it's just something they teach all the twins.
Yeah. By the way,
The
apparently,
lesbian
the-
force
the-
baby twins.
yeah. I'm looking forward to meeting Mother Anastasia. Which, by the way, she mentions her mothers, right?
Mhm.
And I think people took that to mean, oh, they're lesbians. Which, I mean, if they are, then get the fuck over it.
Maybe.
But that's just what you like Mother Talzin,
Yeah.
for
that's
example.
just the title for witches.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily means they're lesbians. If they are, get the fuck over it. Like, it's not that big of a deal. But, like, I'm not exactly...
It's June, you fucking bigots.
Yeah.
You have the other 11 months. Let them
Yeah.
have this one.
Also, remember that lesbians market test better because straight guys watch a lot of lesbian porn.
True.
So, like, if you need a way out to make your peace with it, there you go.
There you go. 4 tits.
Yeah. Oh man, if I ever made,
that one really got you.
if I ever made a list of quotes from this show, that'd probably be one of them. So I think all of the Jedi that she's hunting end up dead.
At the rate they're going, like, Kelnaka's next.
Yeah.
And then Saul episode 4? And then who the fuck knows what's going to happen.
So we've made it through some of the trailer footage.
Which, by the way, we know that the critics were given the first 4 episodes, which makes me think that episode 4 ends on one hell of a cliffhanger. Just because, like, that was as much.
It would be
footage-
halfway through. It would be halfway through the season.
That's
that
just
would
as
make
much as they were willing to put out beforehand to let people evaluate.
Yeah.
So that would be a really good place to, like, put some.
Yeah.
Kind of moment.
We're not done with Carrie Ann Moss. We know from the trailer that she appears in other scenes looking
Which
quite
would
younger.
Be flashbacks at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah, because it's her. Dean Charles Chapman looks his age in those, like he's because he's a younger guy. Like Saul has shorter hair, which is either older or younger depending on what they need it to be. So I think we're gonna find out what happened. And maybe it was a cover-up thing where something went wrong and they all decided they all had a pact to cover it up or something, which would beg the question, why isn't Saul really broken up about it?
He does seem disturbed, like,
but
to some extent. Like, it's very easy for me to believe that he might have taken Osha as a Padawan out of guilt.
But he wasn't like, oh, I think I'll just kill myself with poison upset.
Yeah.
So
that's
maybe
true.
Saul...
Well, different people react to the same thing differently.
I think it's possible that maybe Saul doesn't know exactly what happened and the other ones did.
Could be.
So, yeah.
Like, Torben certainly knew what was going on.
Yeah, he's like, I'll just die now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Next week. It'll air on Tuesday. We'll do the same thing on Wednesday. At 6:00. Join us for that. And then I think after next week, in addition to so we'll always put Acolyte first, and then we'll also be doing House of the Dragon as well. So if you're into that, you'll have another reason to stick around. So here in a few minutes, we're running a little late, but that's okay. We're going to go over to Discord and do a watch party and watch the episodes again and offer some commentary. So join us on Discord. The link to that is in the description.